All right, so today we're going to talk about naming covalent bonds. Topic: covalent bonds. Goal: I can write and name covalent compounds. Go ahead and in your notes, type out covalent bonds and underline it. And the definition, or what you need to know about that, is that it is all non-metals. Two other words that you need to know for this. One is compound, which is any substance composed of two or more different elements. And the second one is molecule, or any substance composed of two or more atoms covalently bonded. So compounds can be any elements. Molecules are specifically covalently bonded. So some properties of covalent compounds you need to know. They're generally low melting point and boiling point. They're generally soft and flexible. They tend to be flammable. They don't conduct electricity, and they normally won't dissolve in water. So we know covalent bonds are formed between two nonmetals. Nonmetals have high electronegativity values because they're on the right side of the periodic table, and the electrons aren't shared. Now in ionic bonds, electrons are either gained or lost. So that's another difference between the two covalent bonds. They just share their electrons. They don't actually gain it, or they don't lose it. We'll be talking about three different types of bonds throughout this. One is a single bond, which means it shares one pair of electrons. A double bond, which means it shares two pairs of electrons. Or a triple bond, which means it shares three pairs of electrons. So the first type of covalent bonds we're going to talk about are diatomic elements. So these are gases that exist as diatomic molecules, or basically if you find this in nature, it'll never just be that element by itself. It'll at least be bonded with one other. And the 7 diatomic molecules are H2, F2, N2, O2, Cl2, Br2, and I2. That's why if you have a tank of oxygen, it's never just O. It's always O2, because oxygen is a diatomic element, which means it always is at least bonded with itself. Now, how to name those? They're literally just their element name. So H2 would be hydrogen, N2 would be nitrogen, Cl2 is chlorine, O2 is oxygen, I2 is iodine. So you don't change anything about the name if it is a diatomic element. So how to name other covalent compounds? So you name each element. The last element ends in IDE, and you use prefixes. So this is what's different between covalent and ionic, is the prefixes. So the prefixes that you'll use for 1 is mon, 2 is di, 3 tri, 4 tetra, 5 penta, 6 hexa, 7 hepta, 8 octa, 9 nona, and 10 deca. So here are some 3 examples. I'm also going to do some examples on the board to show you how to name compounds. So A is P2O5. So P we know is phosphorus, and there's 2 of them. So we automatically know the answer is going to be C, because you would use the prefix diphosphorus and then pentoxide. For B, you have Cl2O7. Well, we know the prefix for 2 is di, so it'll be dichlorine. And then there's 7 oxygen, and the prefix for 7 is hept, so it'll be heptoxide. So A would be your correct answer. Now C is just Cl2. Now Cl2 is a diatomic element, so you just name it its element. So the answer to C would be A, chlorine. All right, so in order for naming covalent bonds, like I said, I'm going to put some practice here to show you guys how to go from the name to the compound and compound to the name. In your digital notebook for covalent bond naming, you'll need to fill out this worksheet. The first half is the name, and you'll need to type in the compound, and the second half is the compound, and you'll need to type out the name. If you need to know how to do subscripts to put the numbers smaller to tell you the amount, go to Format, Text, and then that would be a subscript.